Welcome to the call, folks. And I want to give a shout out to everybody on here because I know that you have been consistently on here. So definitely want to give a shout out to everybody hopping on this morning mentorship call. As you know, we do this thing every single day, Monday through Friday. And it's to transfer energy, to give you something to think about through the day, to apply into your life. It doesn't matter if it applies, because what I feel that we're giving you is something that not only applies to I Am Mastery Academy to excel as an entrepreneur, but also, maybe at work, something that you can utilize while you're elevating in the workplace and to make it a better place for other people as well. So what's going on? I want to give a shout out Chairman Edwin Pender, Chairman Jamie Jones, Chairman Jaden Trowers, Chairman Jolie, Chairman Kinsley, Chairman Kiki, Chairman Andre and Antoine Whitmire, Chairman Patricia, Chairman Richard, Chairman Rico, Chairman Sakina Abdul Jalil, Chairman Shadrach Mbawe, Chairman Shelby, Chairman Stephanie Haynes, Chairman Sylvia Ball, Chairman Minnie Mack. And so I say that, folks, because that's the first step, is really us visualizing where we want to be in life, how much money we're making, how is our family living, how are our kids living, what are they doing at this point. And so we're going to just talk about that heavy foundational, that heavy foundation that is absolutely needed, so it's not going in comparison to your work ethics. You may work very, very hard right now. You've been grinding this whole time, but if there is a small bit of doubt or disbelief of what you can accomplish, guess what? It negates everything, and that's what we're going to talk about here. So welcome, folks. Welcome to our morning mentorship call. My name is Randy Webb. I'm a chairman inside at Chairman 25 inside I Am Mastery Academy. It's been an absolute pleasure to be a part of this industry here, where we've been able to lead thousands around the world, create family, friends across the globe, across the world, from the Bahamas to London to Australia, here nationwide, all the way out to Africa, South Africa, Botswana. So love everyone. I'm so grateful for your partnership. I'm so grateful that I can call you family. And that I know we got a lot of things to accomplish, folks. So, and if you're on here and you're not a part of the organization, that's okay. We're still one big family. Thank you for plugging into our mentorship call that we do every single morning, folks. So just giving you kind of a story basis of my track in life. For those who know me, born and raised in Compton, California. I believe that I came from humble beginnings. My mom was a CNA, meaning she was making minimum wage. She was taking care of 5 kids. I was the oldest of 5, 3 boys, 2 girls. I watched my mom. She worked her butt off. Not only she didn't work just one job, she worked 2 jobs. So she went from one job to another job. So I knew that, throughout school and what was going on, that I needed to do something different. And my mom always had high hopes for us, of course. During that time, I remember I was playing baseball. I really didn't look at baseball as where I was going to go pro. If I'd known what I know today, of course, going and becoming a professional athlete, professional baseball player would have been absolutely awesome. But I don't think that was in my heart, and that was the plan that God had for me at that time. So long story short, folks, young teenage dad at 18 years old, 18 to 19, had my first child. My daughter's 21 years old today, absolute blessing. But during that time, I look back at what was going on in my life, and it seemed like the whole world was crushing in. I'll tell you, my finances definitely wasn't right. I remember at 19 years old having my first place with my spouse at the time. Young, got evicted, didn't know what it meant to, they give you that 3-day notice to move out or get evicted or whatever. Man, I moved out in 3 days, and I remember having to move back in with my mom at the age of 19 years old with child in hand. And I had some things to figure out, folks. I just didn't know what to do in life. Didn't have any coaching, didn't have any mentorship, but I did remember my uncle, right, one of the only folks in my family immediately that went to the military, and he was in Air Force. And he started talking about, going to the military, and I remember seeing a commercial on TV. I know that at that time when you're going through stuff, commercials look real good. The Army of One. I remember I was a security guard working 2 jobs, and the Army of One, that commercial comes on. It talks about the camaraderie and the skills it can give you in the career and what it can provide to you as a family and the leadership, and that attracted me. And so that's when my mind started going to investigating becoming a military man. And I remember talking to several guys cause I was in security. I remember talking to several guys that worked with me at the mall as security, and some of them had been veterans. But the way that I think about things, I'm like, man, if the military was so good, why are they here working security with me? I'm on 19 years old, not barely making $10 an hour at that time, or $8 an hour at that time. And so the Army guys, every time I would ask, like, well, what was great about it? What would you do? And they said the same thing. If I could do it all over again, young man, I would actually go to the Air Force. And so I just kept hearing that word over and over again. So I decided to go to the Air Force recruiter and literally signed the dotted line. I was just ready. Give me whatever job you have. And, throughout, growing up in what we call the hood, some of the success or maybe authority that you see is, police officers. Now today it's a whole different light of how police officers are seen. But back then I said, you know what, maybe I was looking just to change my life, change the environment. And so I remember wanting to become a police officer. And I went through an academy while I was a small little college. They offered like a little post-certified academy I went through, but I was too young to become a police officer. And I look at all these things, they were stepping stones to get me to where I'm at today. So that's why I want to tell you the full story here. But went through that whole academy, while I was staying with my mom, but I still wasn't old enough to become a police officer. I was 18, 19 years old. You had to be 20 and a half to even put in an application. So got top of the class while I was going through those. So it was awesome. So when I went to the recruiter, in my mind was to become a police officer. And it's crazy. I feels like whether you call it the universe, God, when I walked in the recruiter's office, it's so crazy. That recruiter was a police officer in the Air Force. Okay. I remember a Staff Sergeant Lawana Palmer, my recruiter. And I walk in, I say, I want to be a police officer. And when you are set on something, folks, when you have a strong mindset and you're set on something, there's nothing no one can tell you that is going to change your mind. Listen, I walked in that recruiter's office, and Sergeant Palmer, she has experience. She's already worked in the field, and she's like, cool. She's getting me through the process, and I'm like, I want to be a police officer. That's what I want to be. She's like, okay. She's like, but let me tell you, it's not the same like you think it is out here, right? What the duties are, you're going to be at the gates looting. She's telling me all the stuff, and I'm in disbelief because I want to believe what I know and what I've seen, because that's what happens when you have a strong belief system about something. And she goes, okay, that's what you want. I'm going to give it to you. So we sign and we do all that. And some of you kind of heard my story. I tell pieces of it of how I bumped into my dad also. So we signed that paperwork, and I'm ready to head off. They give me my date to go to basic training. I'm going to be a police officer in the Air Force, and I'm excited. And then, of course, within that month or 2 month time frame, okay, I'm going to tell you the things that kind of unfolded in my life. And so what I'm going to tell you as I go through this story, I want you to just keep in mind everything that's happening. Understand, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know what's going to happen. Like where I am right now, I don't know this, okay? But everything that happened in my past led me to this moment right here, right? So I want you to understand that everything that is happening to you is to promote you. No matter if it's good or bad, just know that, have faith that if you just stay consistent about what you want, it's going to happen. And all that's happening throughout your life is just character building. It's a journey, because that's where the true process is at. And so going through, within that 2 month period after I signed that paperwork, understand, born and raised Compton, California, I had some issues growing up, but I adapted to my environment so I can survive. So understand that people will adapt to their environment so that they can survive. But long story short, 18, 19, got my first child as Taja, and we got to go to a well check. And so we go to Long Beach Memorial Hospital, which is downtown Long Beach. And mind you, folks, my spouse at the time, I had never talked about my father for a while. I had seen him for probably about 10 years. And so we go to this well check, and when we come out, okay, I got a car driving, and we come out of Long Beach Hospital. Understand there's only one-way streets in downtown. So when we come out, I'm going to be making a right turn. But before I get ready to turn, there's this man off to the corner. He starts to walk across my car, literally, folks. And as he's walking, this man is homeless. He's been on the streets for a long time. You can tell the shoes are flapping. He's very dirty. And he's kind of hunched over a little bit. So just imagine he's walking across my car. He's hunched over, very dirty, flappy shoes. But I'm looking because there's something about him. And as he's walking across his car, I'm just looking even harder, like, man, is that? And he gets to the corner of my car, and as he continues to walk, I pull out, and I turn to the right. And I got to catch a glimpse of his face to see what I'm thinking in my heart, because I see it. And I turn to the right. And folks, no crap, it's my father, who I hadn't seen in over 10 years. My father was on the streets homeless, and talking about a God thing, and this is why I say it's very powerful. I know that I'm meant to do something powerful. Talking about a God thing, I bumped into my father, who I haven't seen in years, on the streets. And let me give you the setup. My father was a very strong man. You know, growing up, just like any boy, you want to be with your father. You want to go everywhere. My father was a construction worker. I remember my mom and dad, you know, Pomona, California. I remember asking my dad, I want to go to work with you. And I can tell you, if you roll down any freeway, you know, we call them freeways in California, like, you know, the highways here. Any freeway you go in California, what they have is these large brick like buildings to keep people from coming onto the freeway. Okay. Well, I remember my mom and I dropping my father off on construction sites. And so my father built a majority in the Reagan era too, a majority of the highway brick walls working for the city, you know, and it's crazy. He was very successful in construction. He ran his own construction company. I remember being on some of the sites with him, watching him do small projects for houses. So when I say that I watch, you know, my father is a strong man. Okay. You know, but then I believe there's sometimes in life that it's easier to probably give up sometimes to us than to just push forward and get what you want, because the mental game is a tough thing, folks. But if we learn how to control this, we can conquer everything else. And so, folks, you know, I see my father, I'm crying. I hop out the car, understand a lot's going on in my life. I don't have any money. I got evicted from my apartment. You know, I just went to the recruiter's office. I have nothing. Okay. But when I hop out, I have 20 bucks in my pocket, my father, and I go, "Hey, Pops." He goes, "Hey, boy," like nothing's wrong. And I'm just crying away. And I'm like, "How's everything?" He's like, "Hey, I'm just hanging. I'm making it." And so we really didn't have too many words to say. I had 20 bucks in my pocket. I handed it to him. I didn't know what to do. And we depart. I leave him there. And I go home and I'm crying the whole time. And, you know, mind you, I have my spouse at the time, and she's looking at me like, "You had never talked about your dad." I didn't. It was out of sight, out of mind. And now this whole thing just kind of erupted in my heart, you know, probably an empty void. And I go home and I tell my mom what happened. She goes, "What? Why didn't you bring him?" I said, "I don't know, Mom, but I'm going to go back out and go get him." So I dropped my family home, dropped my daughter, my spouse at the time home, and I go out looking for my dad. Now, mind you, remember I talked about I'm supposed to head off to the military, okay? Head off on my dates. Well, long story short, I go out and I go look for my father. I cannot find him whatsoever. He's not in the same spot. I go look all around the hospital, looking around the area. I cannot find him. And I'll tell you foundationally, for the first time ever, see, growing up, sometimes you can fall into routine things, okay? You can go to church all day long. You can go, whatever your spiritual foundation is, you can do that all day long. But if you have really not the belief in your heart because you made it routine, then it doesn't matter. Okay, you gotta understand that belief is everything, and belief comes majority from the heart. So we had a lot of routine in my life. Like, we went to church. I was Baptist. We did things. I got to see the pastor speak and people jump around and all that stuff. So understand, it was routine. Okay, yeah, like just things I seen, but I seen people doing those things and then they go right back to being normal. Okay, right back to just doing whatever it was and really not seeing any really elevation. Okay, so my life was routine. I'll just put it that way. And so for the first time ever, I remember going home and really praying. And I go home, I'm praying for the first time with conviction and belief. And I tell you this story because when you look at something that you want and you have a true conviction and belief for it, it'll manifest. There'll be a way that it will come because you'll just keep on going. Your energy is focused on that thing. I went on and prayed and I said, "God, if I can see my dad one more time, I'll make sure I take care of him. I'll make sure that I grab him and he won't ever be the way that he is again. He won't be on the streets." And every day, I would go out looking. Couldn't find him. And then I'm supposed to, now, mind you, this is probably over a month period this is happening. And now it's time for me to head off to my basic training date. Haven't found my father yet. But I'm looking every day. I'm consistent every day, looking every single day. I'm looking, right? Because I worked at Carson Mall. So just kind of give you guys a stage for those who are from California. I worked at Carson Mall as a security guard. So Carson Mall is like right next to Long Beach. So I would always head back and then head home. Well, so now it's time for my date to come up. And then a week before I'm supposed to head off to basic training, I get a call from Sergeant Luana Palmer. And she goes, "Randy, I'm sorry to tell you, you're not going to be going off next week. We got an issue with your package, man. We got to go solve some things or you're not even going to get in the military. So, I got in a little bit of trouble back when I was 17 years old. Got off, it was okay, but I had to go prove that I had good moral character. And mind you, sometimes you don't know why you're being set up for things. Remember I told you guys I went through the police academy. I got post-certified. Okay. So I created some relationships. It was just great, right? I got to know the chief of police of El Camino College. So when things went down and I had to go get waivers and people to sign and vouch for me to get into the military, guess what? That post-certification, I went back to the chief of police. I went back to my class. This guy, they were like, he was the top of his class. He was this, he was that. So I had great things that they said about me. So got that stuff put in. And of course, I was accepted to the Air Force. So now I had to get a new date to go off to the military. So Sergeant Palmer calls me up. She's like, all right, everything is good. Now we got to get you to sign this paperwork. By the way, you cannot become a cop because you have a waiver. You're going in with a waiver. But now you guys hear this, catch this, what's happening. See, I had this strong belief that that's what I wanted. Sometimes God has something totally different for you. You think you want what you want, but he says, that's not the path. I got something greater for you. And he's going to take you down the course, but you got to go through the obstacles, right? Sometimes you're not going to get exactly what you want because that's not what's going to build the character that's needed for you to stay where you're going. Hear me closely. Meaning you need to stay consistent and just plow through whatever you're going through right now, because when you get there, you're going to look back and say, that's why that happened. You see? So my job had to change. The job that I really wanted to be a police officer, I could not get. She said, what you can do is when you get in, you can change it back when you finish basic training. And so I said, well, then what do I do? I said, well, back then they were giving sign-on bonuses. Now my money's funny. Okay, I'm 19 years old. And so I said, well, give me the job with the biggest bonus. I had scored great on the Air Force ASVAB test is what they call it. So I could get any job. So they gave me air warning and control, right? I didn't know what it was at that time. And they gave me a $6,000 bonus. Man, $6,000, 19 years old. I'll tell you, I did stupid stuff with that money once I got it. But long story short, I got a $6,000 bonus for signing on in the Air Force. Went to the office, signed the paperwork. When I walked out of the recruiter's office, folks, there it is. My dad is sitting across the street. Now, mind you, the recruiter's office on a whole other side of Long Beach. My dad's across the street. Literally, folks, cannot make this up. It's a God thing, okay? He's across the street drinking water. I wasn't looking for him right then and there. But God produced him right in front of me. And I grabbed my father. I called my uncle up, who's his brother, and I said, I just found my dad. Can I bring him to your house? I got to head off to basic training. Literally, my date was like over the next 3 days, I was going to MEPS, which is a military enrollment processing center. And so go to my uncle's house, drop my father off, take the small money that I have, buy him some clothes. Folks, my father's been great ever since. Great relationship. We're still not done what we're about to do, but this has all been in the works in the making. So understand, the reason I wanted to give you that, because I want you to know what's in my heart and why I drive and what drives me and my purpose and why I'm so hardcore with my family. It's those things, because I know that we're meant for greater things. And sometimes you got to have the gratitude for everything that's been done in your life, regardless good or bad, because it's always good when you have that perspective and you look at why they were done. So look, folks, I joined the military. It wasn't meant for me to be a police officer. All my friends that were in the Air Force that were police officers, they hated it. Why? Because they weren't just police officers. They had to stand in front of aircraft when it was super cold outside and guard. They had to be at the gates when everybody else out having a good time in town, and they had to guard the gates, right? They had to defend the base. So I look back and I say, thank you, God, you knew, and I didn't know. I didn't have the vision to see that far to know that wasn't the job you had for me. As a matter of fact, had I become probably a police officer, I would not have become a pilot. You see, the job that I went into, my first job put me at Panama City at Tyndall Air Force Base. And at that, my first job was pretending to be a pilot. Right? I was a sim driver is what they call this. And all we did was we trained ABM students, air battle managers, to control airplanes. And so my course was learning to be a pilot, learning how to speak like a pilot. Listen to me, folks. My first job was learning how to speak like a pilot. Let me say it again. My first job in the Air Force was learning how to speak like a pilot, as if I was in the aircraft. Think about it, folks. It's a visualization of me pretending to be a pilot, okay? Self-fulfilling prophecy. So my first job, I got really good at it and I enjoyed it. Every morning showing up. Now there were some obstacles in between there, but we're going to speed up this story. But my job was every day I would go in, you get behind, put your headsets on, and you would literally pretend to be a Viper pilot, which is F-16, or an Eagle pilot, which is an F-15. So you're pretending to be a fighter pilot, and these aircraft managers, they're basically monitoring these dots on the radar. And so when an enemy aircraft comes up, their job was to point me, the fighter pilot, to the enemy aircraft. And they would say, Viper 1-2, blah, blah, blah. We got bogey at coordinates such and such. And then as a pilot, I would respond back, my script, right? And some of us, we got so good because we used to read off a script when we were brand new. But some of us got so good, there was no script. We just knew what to say, okay? They were like, bogey at blah, blah, blah. Viper 1-2, copy, targeted, bogey, blah, 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 going in for visual. And then we would just go, go, go. And so I got so good at just throwing that off my tongue till it started becoming a big belief about, wonder if I could become a pilot. Man, it got in my heart. And I remember sharing that with the people around me, all the other simulators. Like, man, I think I want to become a pilot. And you get the laughter. People are gonna discount you because they're looking at where you are today. And sometimes they may discount themselves and then try to put their belief on you. And so I remember a couple friends like, bro, really, you from comp, you never flown an airplane before, and you think you're gonna go up and actually fight? Like, us talking to be pilots is different than us being in the aircraft, actually targeting planes and doing all these things. But man, the belief got in my heart so much, and I really started going after it. And so I got the opportunity to get in front of some colonels and ask about becoming a pilot. And they said, well, first you got to have your degree. Guys, I talked about this a couple days ago. I got a 1.0 GPA in college. But I did every step. I started going to school. Okay, when everybody else was out partying, I was attending weekend courses. I was attending courses after work. I made it like my prime source to finish my degree. Well, long story short, finished my degree in 3.5 years being in the Air Force. And then I put in my package. Now, I'm speeding fast, but understand throughout this whole process, there were obstacles, folks. There were people that didn't want to sign my package, okay, even though I got some awards. I went through a lot of things, but this is what I want to tell you is that as long as your beliefs level is so high that you visualize it, you believe it, it's in you, no one can take that away. See, what my routine became, and before I knew what I'm doing today, how I'm mentoring folks, and now I'm putting language behind what I did back then, I didn't know what I was doing back then. I was just doing it. And so there was visualization that was happening. There was belief that was happening. There was morning rituals that was happening. I didn't know those things, but now we get to put it together, and I can explain to you how it really works. Okay, so once I put it in my heart that I'm going to become a pilot, that's what I want. I want to be a fighter pilot. I finished my degree. I got to go and take the AFOQT now. And there are some things that happen in between there that I can look back and say, thank you, God. Once again, more obstacle things that happened that actually elevated me later on, okay? And so I remember on your uniform, so you have these uniforms. We either wear fatigues, okay? Or you'll wear flight suits if you're part of the air crew. So I went from fatigues. So I would have fatigues on sometimes, and I would wear flight suits because later I became a weapons director, which is controlling airplane. And folks, listen to me. Every day I would be at work, whether I had my flight suit on or whether I had my fatigues on. Like, seriously, I would go into the restroom. Every time I would go into the restroom, there was these two mirrors there when I was washing my hands. And I would do this. I finish up, and then I would step back. And literally, folks, this is how much I wanted it. I would visualize my suit. See, as an enlisted member, you would have your stripes here, right? So as the process went on, I was a staff sergeant. So I would have my sergeant stripes here. But what I would visualize, because officers, they wore their ranks on their lapels right here. I would literally visualize lieutenant bars on my uniform every single day. This is like the truth. Like, I got so into it. Sometimes I think if someone walked in the restaurant, they're like, is this dude crazy? Because I would be in a daze. Like, and I would get the good feeling as I was a lieutenant. Like, I would look at my name, I would look at the lapel, and I would say Lieutenant Webb. And every day I did that, okay? And then it got even better. Video games. There were these flight simulators, okay? I went and bought a flight simulator, bought the stick and everything, and every day I would go and just go play around with this flight simulator, and I would pretend. Like, here you go, I'm a grown man pretending to be a pilot with this simulator in front of my TV every single day. I ate being a pilot. I slept being a pilot. I dreamed about being a pilot. I dreamed about being an officer all day long. So even when obstacle hit, oh, I didn't pass the first AFOQT test, well, I got to go do it again. I published a book so I can pass the AFOQT test. I have a vocabulary book out there right now called The Hierarchy of Learning, okay, with over 1,000 words because I had problems with my English part on the test. So I published a book that with 1,000 words in it, and I read it over and over again until I went back and took that test and I passed it. Well, long story short, that book ended up going into my officer package. Now, listen, I have Mr. Coven. I have so much gratitude for this man. Most people who met Mr. Coven is probably 80 years old right now, and you guys see him, you would call him crazy. But Mr. Coven knew what he was doing every single time, and I listened to Mr. Coven. Mr. Coven had a record of getting all his folks approved to become an officer. He had a stellar record. They had to investigate and see why all his people got accepted every single time. Mr. Coven was just good at what he did. So back then, I want to say Mr. Coven was maybe in his 60s. And he just crazy. He would talk to me crazy. But Mr. Coven went to his office, and he goes, and let me tell you folks how obsessed I was. Not only did I buy a simulator game, not only did I pretend about the lapels, I had a navigator. Back then, navigators was all I had a SUV truck navigator. Now I'm probably 20 now. Fast forward, I'm probably like 23 now. This truck has 24-inch rims on it. It's like every young kid's paradise to have this fixed up car. My belief was so high that I wanted to become a pilot, folks. I sold that truck with the rims and everything. Sold it so that I could buy an airplane. And I bought my first airplane in 2004, okay? Bought my first airplane. It was a Piper Cherokee 140. Remember flying out to Florida to go get it. We test flew it. And so I bought an airplane. You know, the bank gave me a loan, bought an airplane just like I would buy a car. And now on the weekends, you know what my things were on the weekends? I would go fly. First, I got my pilot's license, my private pilot's license. And then I would go fly, and I was flying so I can gain a little bit more confidence because I knew that I was coming in as an underdog because most of the young men and women that were going in, their parents, their grandfathers, their great-great-grandfathers, they were pilots. They were in World War II, all this stuff, right? They had the experience. They were groomed to become pilots, not me, right? It's first time. No one in my family was a pilot. So I bought an airplane, and I would fly the airplane over the weekends. I would go different places. I would do cross countries. You know, I remember taking my middle daughter, Amani, up in the plane, flying. And so that's how much belief that I had that I was going to become a pilot. So even when obstacles hit, it didn't bother me. Even when people didn't believe that I would become a pilot, because there was one outside of Mr. Coleman, he believed it. Mr. Coleman was with me. It's good to have those people in your corner. But there was also another, we call them educator, education services. This woman, and Mr. Coven wasn't there one day, and I went in to go finish the rest of my package up. And so as I was finishing my package up, right, you have on your package, you can choose, you can put 3 options, okay? Listen to this. Listen to this again. On your package, you can put 3 options, because what happens if you only put 1 option, if that option is not available, then you just won't be an officer at all, okay? So you can choose to put 3 options, or you can choose to put 1. So they'll say, I want to be an aviator, so it'd be a pilot, or you can be a navigator. That's not a pilot. That's, you know, controlling airplanes, telling them where to go and navigating, okay? And then you can be an air battle manager or any other job that you want, right? We say non-operational jobs. And I'm set on being a pilot. Just like I was set on being a police officer, I was set on being a pilot. So when I went in there to go finish my package, all I had checked was being a pilot, nothing else, because I didn't want them to pick me as a navigator because that wasn't in my heart. I didn't want them to pick me as an air battle manager. I didn't want none of those. I wanted to be a pilot. That's what I've been training for. And so this lady, she thought she was helping me out, and she goes, well, your test scores are all right. They're not like super high, and you know, you have a strong package though. As far as you serving and the awards you have, that's strong. She said, if I was you, you know, you want to guarantee being an officer, I would just choose navigator. Or you can pick pilot, navigator, and you can pick a 3rd option. That's what I would do, so you can guarantee that your package is going to get picked up. And I remember looking at her and saying, you know what? And I didn't want to be stubborn, but I was. I said, I just want to be a pilot. Now I want to check the shoe. And she gave me that look like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm telling you, you should choose this. Like, let me just be honest with you. Your package is not strong enough to be a pilot. So she told me straight up, just like that. I said, well, I'm just going to have to take that chance. This is my first package. I said, worst case scenario, I'd have to resubmit. I'm good with waiting. I'm good with just keeping the course. So I'm just going to put pilot on this one, and that's what we'll keep. And so we marked that off. And then, of course, Mr. Coleman was in the next day. We're finishing up the package. You guys probably heard the story before where I had a colonel who didn't want to sign my package. Long story short, a bigger colonel signed my package, which even being more of a blessing. And last, we're about to get ready to send it off. And remember that book I talked about with 1,000 words? Now, you're not supposed to put anything in this package. Mr. Colvin goes, put the book in the package. I'm like, Mr. Colvin, it says directly right here because Mr. Colvin crazy. Listen, Mr. Colvin crazy. So I don't trust him all the way. He like, boy, put the book in the package. Trust me. He said, you bought an airplane. You wrote a book. He said, put the book in the package and we'll let them know you bought an airplane to get to here. I said, okay, Mr. Colvin. And we sent that thing off. And man, probably, I don't know, a month time frame, 60-day time frame. I'm in my office and the greatest day of my life happened. You know, this group of people walk in my office. The squadron commander walks in my office, and I know what's about to happen. I'm like, okay, I must have gotten accepted because no way they'll call me in and say that you didn't get accepted. So they come in and say, Randy, congratulations. You were accepted as an Air Force officer. Man, I remember jumping up out of my seat. I ran out of the office. I even asked him the job, by the way. Okay. I remember running out of the office, ran around the internal of the squadron. I was so lit and happy with gratitude. And I said, oh, what's my job? But remember, I only chose one option, so it had to be pilot. And so the commander goes, I guess it says 92TO. And so I had to go look that up. I got picked up as a pilot trainee. The greatest day of my life happened, folks. And now today I can put thought behind what it was. It was all manifested. It was all heavy belief. It was all in my heart. And there was no one to tell me that it wasn't going to happen. Because it was going to happen. And I was consistent that it was going to happen. If they didn't pick me up the first time, I was going to put it in the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time. But God had it that I got it the first time. You see, folks, what I showed you right there is a belief system. If your belief system doesn't match your work ethic, you can work all day long. It's not going to happen. If you're going for chairman and there's a small doubt that you can do it, then it ain't gonna happen. You know, I was just reading an article, an entrepreneurship article. They said taking more action without belief is not gonna do anything. So if you're like, I want to be a chairman, okay, and you're like, I'm gonna just show more people, I'm gonna show more people, and you're showing more people, but you don't believe that you're gonna be a chairman, then you're not gonna be a chairman. That's how strong your belief system is. Your mind will cut it off. Your mind is so strong that you will sabotage. Like when it comes to getting there, because your belief is opposite, you will sabotage yourself and you don't even know it. Your mind will sabotage it. So how do you make that belief system so high? They talk about this Greek god. His name is Sisyphus. Okay, and Sisyphus. I'm probably mispronouncing the name. Okay, Sisyphus. This Greek mythology. This god would push up a boulder up a hill constantly. As soon as he would get the boulder to the top of the hill, it would roll down every single time. He would work his butt off, work, get the boulder up, and it would fall back every single time. That's kind of how our life is when we have a weak belief system of what we're going to get. You know, you can look into someone's eyes and know whether they believe whether they're going to get somewhere or not based off the actions that they're taking. But understand what we do is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Check it out. I want you to hear this close. You can write this down, okay? We must reinforce our beliefs, which reinforce our results, and not the other way around. So what happens is because you have a limiting belief system, okay? You don't visualize yourself at chairman or making $1 million a year or making 10 million, wherever that is for you. You can't see it really. You say it, but it's empty. It's not in the heart. It's just yeah, let's do it, yeah. Like it's not strong. It's not there because you haven't put an attachment to it. Okay. So yeah, you're going to work. Yeah. You show up to the presentation. Yeah. You get on the Zooms. Yeah. You might throw a couple people on a call or here and there, but your belief, your energy is not there. Okay. And so what happens is you do some 201s. They show up, they don't sign up because they can feel you. They can feel your energy. You're not the person they want to follow. And you keep on doing 201s. You keep on getting people on Zooms. You get on the call and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. But they know that you're not telling the truth. They feel it. It's not passionate. So they don't sign up. And so therefore, in turn, you get negative results. And because you have negative results and you have a negative belief system because you didn't believe you were going to get there anyway, your belief system that's negative reinforces why you got the negative results, and therefore you keep the negative belief system. Let's say it again. Your negative belief system causes you to get negative results. And in turn, because you get the negative results, you say, I knew it anyway. So it reinforces your negative belief system that you weren't going to do it anyway. And therefore, you stay on the same track and you run in the circles. You are Sisyphus, pushing the boulder up the hill, grinding, but it's falling right back down because you have limited belief. Listen, folks, in order for us to achieve what we want and to move forward, we have to get that strong belief, like when I was a little boy trying to become a pilot. That's what you have to get. You have to dream about it, sleep about it. When you talk, you got to make people sick and tired of you talking about, I'm going to be chairman. People are like, shut up, I'm tired of chairman. Because you believe it so much. That's what you got to get in your heart. And so how do we get there? Now you're like, okay, Randy, I love the story. How do I get there? I'm going to give you the how-tos. You have to make this a ritual, folks. Remember I said you got to go home and pray. Okay? If you don't pray, I'm going to show you how to visualize. You got to go home and pray with true belief. Okay? There's a difference between being routine and mundane and then praying with expectations. Okay? There's a difference. Right? When you pray with expectations, it's going to cause you to go into emotion, into an action to manifest the things that you want. Period. You'll know it. You'll feel it. Every day that you wake up, you'll feel the purpose and you'll be happy and you'll have gratitude. So how do we start it? Here's how we start. I want you guys to carve out 15 minutes of your day. Just 15 minutes. That's all that's needed. Okay? Whether you do it in the morning, and guess what? We're doing, you can make it after this call. Every day we do this call. Every day we do this call. Right after this call, you can do your 15 minutes. Okay, so the first 5 minutes, right? You guys, after this call, hopefully already got your energy way up, but the purpose of the first 5 minutes is to change your state of mind. I need you to have positive vibe, a positive mindset when you start manifesting what you're going to become, okay, in life, your career, how much you're going to be making. So the first 5 minutes is spent filled with gratitude. So if you heard my story, I'm grateful for everything that God's given me. That I'm grateful that I was able to bump into my father coming out of that hospital. I'm grateful that that recruiter called me up and said, hey, yeah, we ain't able to put in that package. I'm grateful for a healthy family. I'm grateful for the home I'm living. I'm grateful for a roof. I'm grateful for the finance that you already blessed me with. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. And you just have gratitude and be happy about where you're at in life today. Okay? So in the moment, it should put a smile on your face, okay? So gratitude is the most important thing. First 5 minutes, just being grateful. If you got to write it down in the book so that you can just say it every single day, then do that. But have gratitude for where you're at. And, you know, me and my wife, we're grateful for where we're at. Regardless of, are we where we want to be? No, but we're grateful for where we're at. Thank you, God, for everything that you have enlightened us with, that you've given us, the opportunity, the people that you've put in our life, the people that you've taken out of our life. Thank you for all of it, okay? And then you go into that space. And then these last 10 minutes, I want you to make it very crystal clear about where you're going in life. Like when I was talking about becoming a pilot, you know, I didn't know back then that I was visualizing. You know, when I was on that simulator game, folks, it was me visualizing flying that airplane. You know, I was an aircraft commander before the Air Force even told me I was an aircraft commander. See, I was an aircraft commander in that video game. See, you're going to be a chairman 10 before IML ever gives you the award of being a chairman 10. Before that back office ever says you're chairman 10 is already in your heart. You already visualize. You already seen what's going to happen. You already know where money is being allocated to. You already know the people you're going to bless. You already know the 500 people you have on your team, how you're going to help them out and how you guys are going to spend time together. You have that visualization down. So let's do this together. What does visualization look like? I don't want this to be mundane, folks. I want this to be a heart thing, okay? And so I don't want you to repeat what I'm doing, okay? I want you to make it yours. But let's talk about you hit chairman, okay? We're going into Houston. We got 183 days now. And you're running your butt off to go to chairman. You're working. You're showing you're in living rooms. You're in different events. You're flying to different states. And you're helping people. You're showing them how to trade. You're putting them in the system. You're changing families. And then the day comes. You hit chairman. And it shows in your back office. It turns that green when you hit chairman. And you're like, man, I'm a chairman 10 now. And then that first paycheck comes. And it says you just made $2,500 you got paid on a Friday. Just got dropped in your bank account. You transfer your pay quicker into your account now. You wait for it to hit the bank account. Boom! Now you're 4 weeks in, you get a full paycheck. You just made about and you get your bonus. So you got about $1,200, maybe $13,000 for the month. And you've been traveling, helping people. And now the day has come where you're going to go to Houston, Texas, so that we can celebrate your achievement that you have. And now you're crying. You're like, man, I can't believe this day has come. I'm a chairman 10. They're about to walk me across stage. You're so grateful and you're so happy. You had the money to fly your mom in. You had the money to fly your dad in. Maybe you flew some other family in. You know, if you're a parent, you got your kids there looking so they can see your accomplishments, so they can probably do the same thing. And now it's time to get ready to walk stage. Say, all chairmen come to the side of the stage, and your name is about to be called, and they call your name. Hey, such and such, and then you walk up the stage. There's literally 15,000 people in the Houston Stadium. Our biggest event in the company's history is happening, and you just hit Chairman 10, and there are 15,000 people looking at you. And you walk on stage, and the lights kind of blind you a little bit. You try to see, and then you kind of look below the lights, and you realize that your whole team ran to the front, right? They got through security, and they was able to get to the front. And they're all crying because they watched your journey. They knew what you went through to get to that point. They knew it wasn't just you also. They knew it was a team thing, and they're yelling your name. They're yelling at Collins, oh, my God, yes, I can't believe it. We got a chairman. And then you create so much belief in them. And they're screaming, thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for not quitting. Thank you for keeping the course. Thank you for all the obstacles you went to, because you now gave me the belief that I can become a chairman too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And in the distance, right behind that, you got your parents. I don't know if they're calm, but your parents they're dropping tears because they know what you went through. They know all the journeys, all the things you gave up to get to the point you're at, and you finally fulfilled the goal that you were chasing. Your parents are crying for you. The people that you flew in, they're clapping their hands. They're so grateful for you. Maybe they're hopping up and down. I can't believe, look at my son, look at my daughter. And they're grateful, they're happy. I want you to see all that. And then after you finish that, because your money was so good, okay, you probably set up a family trip right after the event. Whether you're going on a cruise or you're going on some vacation, so as soon as the trip is over, you get to go celebrate hitting Chairman 10 for real. And you take your family on a family trip somewhere or on a cruise. And now you're sitting back, maybe you having that favorite drink, and you're just looking at the sky, how beautiful it is. You're on the boat and you're looking like, man, like I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Like I don't have a job for real. And I make 6 figures. I'm in the top 5% of earners in the world, but I'm not done yet. But I'm grateful. See, you now visualizing again, but you're there. And you're looking at all the people that are on that vacation, and you're just looking like, man, we did it. And then what happens is something sneaks in and says, you know what? I want everybody to feel this. I'm not stopping here. I want to see 10 more people feel the same way that I feel right now. And you go back to work and you go do this thing all over again, so that you're pushing the Chairman 100, 250, 500. See, folks, visualization is powerful. You got to first believe first before it happens. So if you found yourself stuck, listen, I'm telling you from experience, if you found yourself stuck, I need you to try hard to really visualize where you are going that is crystal clear. I got this right here doesn't even mean anything. You see, I got Chairman 100 on my wall. That don't mean anything if I don't visualize every day that I'm there, if I don't focus, if I don't stay consistent about what I'm doing. So lastly, okay, after we visualize this and we see where we're going, now we have to put the work behind it. Okay, you now know, you now visualize, you now seen it, you now understand. My parents can be, you seen it, you prophesied it. Okay, it's a prophecy, self-fulfilling. It's done, already done, because I seen it. God put it in my heart. And so now you go to work and you're consistent. Now here's the change. Here's the change I want you guys to have as you're working. See, I don't want you to be that Greek mythology. I don't want you to be Sisyphus, right? Pushing the boulder up a hill and constantly falling back down. Why? Because you weren't consistent, or because you were worried about your results. So you're going to be consistent. Okay, that's one. And you're going to stop worrying about the outcome. See, when you worry about the outcome, meaning if you get a negative result, it may in turn change your mindset to a negative mindset. So we don't worry about the results. We just worry about the journey. How many people are you showing per day? How many lives are you changing? You know, how many people know about I Am Master Academy? Are you being consistent with that? Are your efforts? Reading your books? Are you growing? Just stay consistent so that your belief will reinforce your results. and not the other way around. Your belief will reinforce your results, and your results will not reinforce your belief, period. See, a belief, it should be strong. It should be a conviction. No one should be able to change your belief, and that's what makes you unique. So folks, that is our call. I'm so grateful and happy to have each and every one of you in my life. You know, this is our Thursday mentorship call. We got one more tomorrow. We'll be bringing on a special guest tomorrow. So let's do this all over again. Hope you guys have a blessed and wonderful day. I'll make this recording available here shortly, but I want you to enjoy this music we're about to put on again. High hopes, folks. Keep the hope high. Visualize where you're going. Don't let your results run your belief system, and let's go. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Woo! Let's go. Come on. I see y'all out there. What's going on, chairman? Look at all these chairmen right here. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much. Chairman Sylvia Ball, Chairman Shelby, let's go. Chairman Sakina Abdul Jalil, I cannot wait. Let's go. Chairman Richard, come on, let's go. Chairman Miguel, let's go. Come on. Miss Chairman 500 Wanda Webb, let's go. Chairman Nico and Yannette out of Germany, let's go. Chairman Nancy and Gerald, let's go. Wanted everything. Mama said, don't give up. Come on, let's go. Oh, I love it. Let's go, y'all. Oh, I love it. Let's go. Chairman is already done, y'all. It's already done. Already prophesied. Let's go. Let's go. Chairman Kip Green, Chairman Lisa, let's go. Chairman Andrew, let's go. Chairman Shadrach, one of the first chairmen out of Botswana, let's go. All right, you guys have a wonderful, that is our calling, and everything that we do, let's continually leave a legacy. Peace.